I work for a law enforcement agency in one of the wealthier areas of town. I've been with the agency since finishing school, working my way up through different departments. Started as a dispatcher, moved to records, and finally landed in my current position, a mix of IT and equipment management. My job is to test and write reports on all the non-tactical gear we use, and the biggest part of my job is testing patrol vehicles. Recently, we've been looking at new backseat options for our cruisers. If you've ever had the misfortune of sitting in the back of a police car, you know they're just hard plastic, definitely not designed for comfort. They're slippery too, which can cause problems. The main priority is having something easy to clean and without cushion creases where people might hide contraband. A new vendor approached us with an innovative material for the back seats. It was non-stick but had some cushioning underneath. After they installed it in one of our vehicles, I contacted the officer who handles tactical equipment purchases to set up some testing. City guidelines require a minimum of 12 hours of testing on top of whatever the manufacturer has already done. I arranged with the officer to spend parts of 2 days driving around the city. We'd take turns. Sometimes I'd be in the back wearing handcuffs, playing the role of someone in custody, and sometimes he'd sit in the back without cuffs, simulating a witness being transported. We couldn't legally put him in handcuffs for the simulation, which solved that particular problem. The first day was fine, though we both agreed it wasn't entirely realistic to sit in the back for more than 30–45 minutes, since that rarely happens in real situations. The material was basically like a dense yoga mat, not much padding. So on the second day, I brought a pillow from home for my back, since I have fused vertebrae that give me trouble. We were just finishing up the second day around lunchtime and decided to grab something to eat. The officer parked in front of a restaurant, let me out, and removed the handcuffs. I jokingly called him Jeeves and asked if he could get the door for me in a playful, butler-like manner. Big mistake. An older woman, probably in her late 60s, overheard this and completely misinterpreted the situation. She thought I was some criminal ordering a police officer around, like my personal servant. She started screaming at the top of her lungs, accusing me of being a criminal who shouldn't be ordering police officers around. Her voice was shrill as she insisted I must obviously be a criminal. The officer tried to explain the situation, telling her there was a misunderstanding and that I worked with him. He mentioned we were just testing equipment and making a joke, but she wasn't having it. She refused to believe him, even when I pulled out my agency ID to show her. I tried to reason with her, explaining that I worked for the law enforcement agency while showing her my ID badge. I told her we were conducting official testing of equipment. The officer backed me up, explaining about the backseat testing for patrol vehicles and why we were in the car together. The woman called us liars, insisting she had seen the officer uncuff me. She stubbornly maintained that my ID must be fake and that no real criminal would joke around with police. She was completely convinced I was some dangerous offender. Then she took out her phone and called 911. She demanded to speak with the chief, insisting he come personally to explain what she called shenanigans. When the dispatcher answered, she described seeing a criminal ordering a police officer around outside the restaurant. She claimed the officer was pretending I worked with him and demanded the chief come immediately. Of course, the chief wasn't going to rush out for this, but our watch commander did show up about 15 minutes later. By this point, a small crowd had gathered to watch this woman's meltdown. The watch commander arrived looking annoyed about being called away from more important matters. He asked what the problem was. The woman immediately launched into her version of events, claiming she had seen me handcuffed in the back of a police car and now I was ordering the officer around like a servant. She told him we were both claiming I worked for law enforcement, which she clearly didn't believe. The watch commander sighed deeply and turned to us, asking if this was about the backseat testing we'd been conducting. The officer confirmed this, explaining we were just finishing up when the misunderstanding occurred. The watch commander explained the situation to the woman again, confirming that I did indeed work for the agency and we were testing equipment. However, he did scold both of us for making jokes while in uniform and on official business. The woman refused to accept this explanation, Pointing out that she had seen the handcuffs, she accused all of us of covering for each other. I tried once more to explain that the handcuffs were part of the testing process, telling her we needed to simulate different scenarios. She grew more agitated, declaring she didn't believe any of it. She demanded that the watch commander arrest me and fire both officers for incompetence. The watch commander warned her that she was the only one causing a disturbance and asked her to move along. This absolutely infuriated her. Her face turned bright red, and before anyone could react, she actually smacked the watch commander across the face and yelled at him to do his job. Well, someone definitely got arrested that day, but it wasn't me. The watch commander immediately placed her under arrest for assaulting a law enforcement officer. When she was being arrested, she protested loudly, declaring that as a taxpayer who paid our salaries, we couldn't arrest her. The watch commander told her that she had just assaulted a law enforcement officer and instructed her to turn around and place her hands behind her back. We ended up not recommending the new backseat material. It was better than hard plastic, but still not ideal for longer transports. Plus, after this incident, I'm not sure I want to risk being mistaken for a criminal again just to test some cushier seats. I've been a bouncer at the watering hole for 4 years now. It's not a high-end spot, but it pays the bills. And I don't mind the work. At 6 feet 4 inches and built like a linebacker, I have the right look for the job, though most nights are pretty low-key. The owner treats me well, the regulars respect me, and I rarely have to get physical. The bar charges a measly $2 cover on weekend nights. It's practically nothing compared to other places downtown that charge $10 to $20 just to walk in the door. We have one exception to the cover charge rule: party buses. The owner made deals with local party bus companies to bring their groups to our bar for free. It makes good business sense. Those groups are always lively, buy lots of drinks, and create the kind of atmosphere that keeps other customers coming back. Last Saturday night was busy as usual. I was at my post by the door when this couple walked up. The guy was average height with that overconfident vibe some dudes get when they're trying to impress a date. I told them about the $2 per person cover charge. The guy immediately started frowning and huffing like I'd asked for his kidney. He complained about having to pay a cover charge at all. I explained to him that a $2 cover was going to be the cheapest thing he'd buy at the bar that night, and suggested that if he couldn't afford it, he might want to go somewhere else. I've used that line hundreds of times. It usually shuts down complaints pretty quick, especially when someone's trying to look good in front of their date. Sure enough, he dug out his wallet, still grumbling, and handed over $4. I stamped their hands and they went inside. About 5 minutes later, the guy came storming back to my post, looking all indignant. He confronted me about seeing people inside who said they didn't have to pay the cover charge and demanded to know why he was being singled out. I explained that those people probably came in on a party bus and told him about our agreements with the bus companies that let their customers get in free. He pointed to a table where his girlfriend was sitting with a group of 4 people and insisted that I hadn't charged his friends, and they definitely didn't come on a bus. I recognized them from earlier. They had come in right before a party bus group, and when I asked if they were with the bus, they nodded yes. It happens sometimes. People lie to save a couple bucks. Usually, it's not worth the trouble to track them down. I acknowledged that I must have made a mistake and suggested it was just their lucky night. Most people would take the hint and drop it. Not this guy. He started getting upset, saying it wasn't fair and demanding his $4 back. He kept asking why he should have to pay when his friends didn't. His voice was getting louder, and people nearby were starting to look over. I tried once more to defuse the situation by asking him to keep his voice down since it was just $4. He refused to back down, saying it was about principle and that either I needed to give him his money back or charge his friends too because everything needed to be fair. At this point, he was causing a scene, and I'd had enough. Fine. He wanted fairness. I'd give him fairness. I agreed with him that the situation wasn't fair and told him I would fix it. He smirked, thinking he'd won and was about to get his refund. He didn't realize what was actually coming. I stepped away from the cash drawer and walked directly to the table where his friends were sitting with his girlfriend. I apologized for bothering them and explained that there was a $2 cover charge tonight. I mentioned that their friend had told me they hadn't paid and admitted I must have misheard them when I asked if they were with the party bus. I told them I needed to collect the cover from them now. It was first confusion, then understanding, then pure anger as they all turned to stare at their friend who was still standing by the door. One of the women wouldn't believe that he would rat them out over a mere $2. Another friend commented on how classless the move was. They all grumbled but dug out their wallets and purses. I collected $8 from the four of them and then, with the sweetest smile I could muster, I turned and loudly called across the room, thanking the guy for his honesty and helping us enforce the rules fairly. I walked back to my post watching as his girlfriend and friends proceeded to tear into him. One friend was gesturing wildly, another looked like she was threatening to leave, and his girlfriend had that tight-lipped expression that definitely meant he wasn't getting lucky that night. He tried rejoining the table, but they kept giving him the cold shoulder. About 20 minutes later, I saw him drinking alone at the bar, while his girlfriend was dancing with her friends. By the end of the night, he left by himself while they all stayed behind. All that drama over $4. Some people just don't know when to let things go. But hey, at least in the end, everything was fair, just like he wanted. I'm in my 30s now, but this happened about a decade ago when I was 22. My younger sister was 18 at the time and had always been my mom's favorite. My dad was more level-headed and would call my sister out on her nonsense, but my mom's interference usually meant she got away with everything. The whole mess started when my parents decided to take a ski vacation to Aspen. They left my sister in charge of watching the house, with strict instructions not to have any parties. Of course, she ignored that completely. Just one day after my parents left, my sister called me with a small favor. She asked me to buy alcohol for her party that night. I asked her about what party she was talking about, reminding her that our parents had explicitly forbidden parties. She dismissed my concern with a whatever and explained that everyone was already invited. She told me she had promised free alcohol, and since I was the only one of legal age, I needed to buy it. She even offered to introduce me to what she called an easy girl as payment. I refused, telling her I wouldn't break the law for her. I added that she shouldn't have promised alcohol when she was underage. She got upset and claimed I was ruining her life, saying she couldn't take back the invites now since they were all over Facebook. I checked her profile and saw the post. She had literally invited half the town to a booze-filled party at our parents' house. I told her this was really stupid since she and all her friends were underage, making the whole thing illegal. She tried to argue that it would only be illegal if someone reported them, then asked if I was going to tell on her. I assured her I wouldn't report her, but reiterated that I still wouldn't buy her alcohol. She screamed at me some more, so I hung up. That night she had her party anyway. Someone called the police about underage drinking and my sister got arrested. When questioned, she threw me under the bus, telling the police I was the one who supplied the alcohol. In reality, she had broken into Dad's liquor cabinet. The next day, police showed up at my apartment and arrested me. They seemed convinced I was guilty before even talking to me. I cooperated fully and told them the whole story at the station, even showing them my sister's Facebook post. Thankfully, a few officers actually listened, but I still had to spend the night in a cell while they contacted my parents. My parents flew back immediately. Dad bailed us both out, though Mom wanted to leave me in jail because she believed my sister's lies. Dad took the time to talk to me and look at the evidence, so he believed me. This sparked a huge fight between them. When they got home, Dad discovered the broken liquor cabinet and spoke to the police on my behalf. My innocence was further proven by security footage showing I went straight home after work and never left. My car never moved from my apartment parking lot all night. I wasn't seen at any liquor store, and my bank account showed no alcohol purchases. The footage from my parents' house confirmed my car was never there that day. Despite all this evidence, my sister changed her story, claiming I already had alcohol and gave it to her at my apartment. But security footage showed her car was never at my apartment either, and I only had a few beers in my fridge. Finally, my sister had to admit she lied. My parents were disappointed in her, but my mom still tried to convince me to take the fall. She showed up at my apartment the next day and demanded that I tell the police it was all my fault. I refused, saying I wouldn't ruin my future for my sister. She begged me, claiming this would ruin her daughter's life. She promised that she and my father would make everything okay for me if I just took the blame now. She actually got on her knees while pleading with me. I told her I'd rather be poor than have a felony on my record. This sent her into a rage. She started throwing things around my apartment and called me an ungrateful piece of garbage. She even said she should have aborted me when she had the chance. I threatened to call the police if she didn't leave, and she stormed out cursing the entire way to her car. I immediately called Dad and told him everything. He was furious and confronted Mom as soon as she got home. She didn't even deny what she'd said or done, insisting it was for the greater good of my sister. Dad threatened divorce if she didn't make things right. She quickly agreed to do whatever he wanted as long as he didn't leave her. Dad insisted on family counseling. During our sessions, I called Mom out on always believing my sister's lies. I prepared a list of all the proven lies my sister had told over the past decade. My dad and the counselor made Mom and my sister sit in silence as I read through them all. Eventually, my sister was diagnosed as a narcissist. She went to court for underage drinking, providing alcohol to minors, and attempting to frame me. Despite Mom begging the judge for leniency and hiring an expensive lawyer, my sister had to accept a plea deal to avoid jail time. She got a huge fine, which Mom mostly paid, and a couple years of probation. After finishing college and probation, my sister moved to Los Angeles for a job Dad helped her get. We haven't spoken in years. She never showed any remorse for what she did. Eventually, even Mom gave up on us ever being a family again. Mom and Dad's marriage exists only on paper now. They sleep in separate bedrooms, and Mom has become a bitter shell of her former self. My relationship with Dad is still great, but he's basically disowned my sister. I wonder if things could have been different if my sister had faced real consequences earlier in life. But I don't know anymore, to be honest. I, 37-year-old female, am a photographer who specializes in creative portraiture. I've been doing this for about 15 years now and have built up a pretty good reputation in my city. Photography wasn't just a job for me, it was my passion, my way of helping people see themselves in a different light. In early 2021, I worked with a local performer who I hit it off with immediately. We had several mutual friends and, by the end of the shoot, we both wondered how we hadn't crossed paths before. The photos turned out beautifully and I shared them in a local networking group specifically created for minority women photographers and models to connect safely. The photos got really positive feedback until someone new to the group started making negative comments about my model. She began criticizing her and went on about some drama involving a guy they both knew. It was completely inappropriate for a professional networking group. I replied to her comments, stating that her remarks had no place in this group and that her personal issues with the model weren't relevant to a photography discussion. She fired back defensively, questioning who I thought I was and claiming I didn't know anything about her model. I reiterated that this wasn't the proper place for this conversation and that the group was meant for professional networking. She continued her attack, insulting my photography skills and saying my model looked terrible in the photos. The back and forth continued until the admin stepped in and removed her from the group. I later found out she had only been added because she had runway experience and the group was hosting a workshop. After this incident, she was fired from the workshop. I didn't think much about it until my best friend messaged me. She asked how I knew the runway model, who had been removed from the networking group. When I told her I didn't know the woman, she urged me to look at a post the model had made about me. Apparently, this woman had written a lengthy social media post about me and my model, claiming she would make sure I never got work in our city again and calling me the C word. I actually laughed about it. To poke fun at the situation and show that the word didn't bother me, I did some self-portraits with the C word painted all over my face, neck, and chest. I made funny faces, flipped off the camera, and stuck my tongue out. I made one of these photos my profile picture and it went viral. People love the concept, so I turned it into a special offer. For the month of April, I would provide discounted portrait sessions where clients would choose a word that had negatively affected them, have it painted on them, and reclaim power over it. They could express whatever emotions they needed to during the shoot. The response was overwhelming. I was booked solid for April, with more people messaging to participate. I extended the special and continued the project. Everyone had their own story behind their chosen words, and some were so powerful I struggled not to cry during the sessions. It was amazing to see how much weight a single word could carry, and how cathartic it was for people to confront these words. The series gained significant attention on social media, and in May, a local news publication contacted me for an interview. This led to two more publications reaching out. I approached the local gallery about hosting a solo exhibit which we scheduled for early September. For the exhibit, I asked participants who were comfortable to share the stories behind their words to be displayed alongside their photos. I also organized an opening night event featuring local performers, including my model who had become a close friend. We had over 200 attendees before the gallery had to stop selling tickets due to COVID capacity limits. What the gallery visitors didn't know was that there was a second part to the series that I had kept secret. After photographing participants with their negative words, I had them choose a positive word to replace it. We wiped away part of the negative word and painted the positive one in bright red. In the final room of the gallery, these positive word photos covered the walls, smiling faces of people reclaiming their power. I also set up interactive elements, smooth river stones where visitors could write their negative word on one side, carry it through the exhibit, and then write a positive word on the other side. They could take the stone or leave it in a basket. Many people told me they kept their stones as mementos. From April to September 2021, about 80 people participated in the photo series. It became the highlight of my career. My client base expanded tremendously, and my reputation in the city grew stronger than ever. And I heard that she hasn't been able to find modeling work since the incident, all because she tried to shame my model and called me the C word.